Welcome to another exciting episode in our series where we provide key insights into our latest sustainability reporting publication, Are You Reporting for a Sustainable Future? South Africa's Perspective on a Changing Global Landscape. I'm Thamesha Chetty, and with me today is my colleague Taskeen Jaffer. In our previous episode, we provided a high-level overview of key topics contained within the report, and we also touched on the opportunity for local businesses to start thinking about their sustainability reporting journey. Today, we're going to be diving a bit deeper. We're going to unpack global reporting trends and also answer the burning question, are the ISSB standards, which is the International Sustainability Standards Board standards, going to be adopted in South Africa? But before we get into that, Taskeen, do you mind giving us a quick update on what's happening globally in the sustainability reporting space?
Yes, of course. So in the current sustainability reporting landscape, there are two frameworks that are expected to have the biggest impact on companies globally. The first one is the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive, or the CSRD, and then there is the IFRS Sustainability Disclosure Standards issued by the ISSB. The CSRD is actually a part of European legislation that requires entities to report in accordance with the European Sustainability Reporting Standards, or this ESRS, and the ESRS requires companies to provide a broad range of disclosures across various environmental, social, and governance topics. Now, I know that you might be thinking that that's in Europe. How does that affect us here in South Africa? And that is a fair question. However, what is important to keep in mind is that depending on if certain scoping requirements are met, the ESRS could actually affect both European Union and non-European entities. Now, something that we won't get into detail today, but perhaps we should keep in mind, is that there are proposals being looked at to simplify the reporting requirements for companies within the scope of the CSRD. Now, shifting our focus towards the IFRS Sustainability Disclosure Standards, there have been two standards issued. Firstly, IFRS S1, General Requirements for Sustainability-Related Financial Information, and IFRS S2, Climate-Related Disclosures. While these standards are effective from 1 January 2024, this is subject to adoption by local jurisdictions. It has been quite positive to see that there are many jurisdictions around the world that have been making significant strides towards adopting the ISSB standards, including many African territories.
And from the benchmarking exercise that we performed to inform our publication, we found that many companies that we reviewed are multinationals with operations within numerous African territories. And as you had mentioned, a lot of African countries have either adopted the ISSB standards or are in the process of doing so. And the same trend applies globally. So many companies have operations in international regions which are also adopting the ISSB standards or otherwise using them. And such territories include Canada, Brazil, and Australia. Another point we found is that many companies have operations within Europe or make sales to European countries. So it's quite clear that many multinational South African entities, irrespective of the industry in which they operate, could find themselves in the scope of one or more sustainability reporting framework. But even if not directly within the scope and required to report in accordance with them, they may still be asked to provide information to local businesses that are within the scope. And that's because both the ISSB and the ESRS contain a requirement to disclose material information on sustainability-related risks and opportunities. And this includes information along an entity's upstream and downstream value chain. So in other words, they would need to consider their business arrangements and relationships outside of their own operations.
And keeping that in mind, let us go back to the question that we asked at the start. Has South Africa adopted the ISSB standards? The short answer is no, not yet. However, there have been many regulatory discussions and outreach efforts being conducted to assess whether South Africa should adopt the ISSB standards. Despite this, even in the absence of mandatory reporting requirements, companies could still voluntarily report under the ISSB standards. So even though the path towards adopting the ISSB standards in South Africa isn't clear-cut, It is important for companies to keep up to date with developments in this space.
That's a great note to end on, Taskeen. And to our viewers, we really encourage you to read the full publication and watch out for our next episode where we will cover an overview of IFRS S1 and IFRS S2, as well as dive into some observations and considerations relating to South African sustainability reporting practices.